Yo, what is good, YouTube? In today's video, I'm gonna give you guys the new top 5 meta loadouts you need to be running. So if you enjoy this video, let's break 200 likes, subscribe, those notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, hopping in here to our first gun today. It's gonna be the Ames 85. This thing is absolutely incredible. One of the best ARs you can possibly run here in Warzone right now. So of course, I got you guys the best build for it. There's going to be a couple of optics since that's going to be our first thing we're going to be showing you. This is really a little bit more personal preference on the optic you want to run for your play style. If you want to sit back a little bit more, if you want to be more aggressive, I'll show you guys the options. So first one being the Kepler Microflex, my bad. This is really solid. It's just a great red dot sight. So if you want to have that red dot, like, ability where it's just a one-time magnification, nothing really there, then just have a sight that makes it so it's clearer than the irons. Of course, that's a great option. Going down here, I'd say the Q spot reflex is really good as well. And then my personal preference is going to be the Kepler red dot. And then I like to change out the reticle to something I've unlocked, like that little blue cross. It's like 300-400 kills, whatever it is. I use the Kepler red dot quite a bit. And also the Otero is something that is a little bit newer in terms of what people are using, but it is essentially the same thing. It just looks visually a little bit different. It's still a 1.25x magnification. It just basically looks a little different. And pretty much the max I go for on this thing is the Willis 3x and then the Jason Armory 2x. Both of these are going to be great options as well because of the Ames is so low in recoil. You can really hit those long distance shots. So honestly, you really can't go wrong with the Willis, the Jason Armory, the Kepler red dot, or even any of the other red dot sights I've mentioned. They're all going to be pretty solid, but for my preference and my pick, I'm going to go for the Kepler red dot. Now moving to the muzzle section, I'm going to go throw on the compensator, and this is just going to help us out their overall vertical recoil control. This is hugely necessary to have on this gun. It's not one of those guns where you can run a suppressor and be okay. It needs that stabilization to be able to have that laser beam like accuracy, so the compensator is going to be the move on this gun. Now in the barrel section, this is going to be kind of much like a lot of the ARs right now. I should say that they are switching up. Some of them don't require this, but I'm saying much like majority of the ARs, it requires a reinforced barrel. So you can see your damage range here is 55.9 meters, which is absolutely fantastic. You can go by and look at some of the other barrels, like the long barrel gets you out to 66 meters, your damage at effective range right below the sort of diagram of the person. That's really awesome, but you can see your bullet velocity is only 810 meters per second, which is not ideal. You want it to be above 900, and preferably the faster it can be, the better, without sacrificing your damage at effective range. So the reinforced barrel gets you out to about 56 and puts you out to 931 meters per second, which is really awesome. I wouldn't really recommend running that gain twist barrel as much, but it is still a great option. I just like the reinforced barrel. I feel like it hits harder, and that's just something personal. You can technically run the gain twist and be perfectly fine because 51 meters of effective damage range is awesome, and 1,000, like 1,100 meters of bullet velocity is fantastic. But for me, I just found that through my testing and in-game playing experience, the reinforced barrels seem to hit harder. So we're gonna go throw that on there. Next up in the underbarrel section, we're gonna go throw on that vertical foregrip, and this is just gonna help us out that horizontal recoil control. It's not like this gun has a stock like we have, the XM4 has that buffer weight stock, which by the way, don't really be using the XM4 a whole lot anymore. It's really not all that great in comparison to these guns I'm showing you. This right here doesn't have that attachment, so we have to use the vertical foregrip. Otherwise, there's nothing else that's going to control the recoil as much. And then lastly, in the magazine section, of course, we're going to go in here, throw on extended mag 2. This just kind of is what it is. I'm a 6-strand mag kind of guy, so I like going for that 60, and this does exactly what we needed to. So this right here is my full Ames 85 build. Next up, something you can really pair with that Ames 85 and almost have kind of like a #1 meta loadout is the PPSH 41. So everyone knows this got added in here in season 2, and then in season 2, it was okay. It was a decent SMG, right? It wasn't like completely busted or anything, but they buffed it the same day they nerfed the XM4, so a few days after it came out, and they made it a lot better. So this gun is actually one of the best SMGs you can use right now. And so we're gonna hop in here. First thing, we're gonna go to the muzzle section, and I'm gonna tell you guys this right now. This you can run a suppressor on, and actually in my settings video, if you guys have not seen that video, I'd suggest to go check it out. Most recent video I uploaded, but this right here, I was running a suppressor on because I had 2 gameplays to showcase, the settings that I'm using. And this right here, I'm gonna show you guys the exact setup I was using right in that video. This is fantastic. So this is what you want to be running on this gun. That or the compensator. You're really not going to go wrong with either or. I just find that if I can run a suppressor on a gun and there's no recoil with it, why would I run a compensator? So I've been running the suppressor on it. Barrel section, this is where we can kind of get a little bit fun with it. So we can take a look, see the long barrel gets you out to 20.2 meters, which is pretty absurd for an SMG damage range wise. And you can almost kind of, in a sense, build this out to be sniper support, but we are building this as a true SMG. So there's not as much of a reason to have that. What I actually find to be really cool is you can run the long barrel or you can run the reinforced barrel, because you still get 18 meters of effective damage range, which is farther than everything else. And the bullet velocity gets out to about 700 meters per second. So you can definitely hit some shots with this thing. So the long barrel and reinforced barrel, I think both of them are going to work out great. Honestly, I kind of like the reinforced a little bit more. I find it to be pretty awesome, and it's got great range already. So I don't feel like I need to have any bit extra, because this is like the range at which I'm going to use an SMG, and out past that, I'm going to use like my AR or something else like that, like my AMEs or something else that I'll show you guys. So a reinforced or long barrel, totally up to you. Just check out and see what works best for you, but you're really not going to be going wrong either which way. Underbarrel section, when you go down here, we're going to use the very last thing, which is the Ranger foregrip. This helps our horizontal and our sprinting movement speed. So the sprinting movement speed is a really nice thing to be added in here. I don't think that you need more horizontal recoil control by having the vertical foregrip. I think this is a very easy to control gun, to be honest with you. Like, to keep it a full stack, this is a very easy to control gun, so you don't need that extra. Just go down here, and even the players that aren't the greatest with their recoil control and stuff should have no problems using this setup. I'm not sure why I'm explaining this right now as opposed to some of the other guns, but I'm just telling you guys, it's very, very easy to control. Magazine, we're gonna go in here and we're gonna use actually Extended Mag 1, and the reason I'd say the only reason to stay away from Extended Mag 2 is it has 55 rounds, which is really nice, but the downside is that it takes like a double tap, you know, slap into the mag. So he taps the mag in and then has to tap in the mag once more to complete the actual reload. And it's not like one of those things where you can get out of the animation. That second tap has to happen, and I don't like that, because it's not like there's sleight of hand in Warzone where you can kind of get away with that. No, like they may have buffed the overall reload speed of guns, but it's still too slow in my opinion, and I don't like that. I much prefer Extended Mag 1. It's just a singular slide in, it's fast enough, and it also doesn't slow me down in any mobility categories like the Extended Mag 2 does. You can see the cons right there above my face cam. It will slow you down, whereas Extended Mag 1 won't, only just mess with your reload quickness. So I find this to be great. 45 rounds is more than enough, and I find this to be perfect for my play style, because I like being very aggressive, and this helps me when I'm trying to take on multiple people at a time. Can dip out, get a reload in, and it's super fast. Whereas this, I literally felt like I was getting caught in situations where I was just kind of fighting to be able to find a spot to reload because it takes too long. So you have that. Lastly, in the stock section, since there is no rear grip, that's why we see all these different options in here. But I'll tell you guys from personal experience and testing, there's going to be about 2 options which will likely be the best for you. First one being the agility stock for that ADS speed and aim walking movement speed. 2 really great things. The only thing you'll run into is, you can say, if you want to take a look at the ergonomic stock, we see sprint to fire speed, dive to fire, and aim walking movement speed. So slide to fire, there, I think I said sprint to fire. Slide to fire is absolutely huge in this game, and unfortunately the agility doesn't have that slide to fire. So if you even mess around with it in the firing range, kind of slide cancel a little bit, you try to move up, like, you will see that it is just a little bit slower until you get out of that slide to fire animation. That's really quick and snappy, which is awesome. But me being very aggressive, I need that slide to fire, so I go for the combat stock. And this gives me dive to fire, slide to fire, and sprint to fire speed. So this right here, I think, is the ultimate stock to run. I think this is by far the best one. I've tried pretty much all of these, not like as much in game, but just moving around in private match, you know, and just kind of trying to figure out, like, even in the firing range, what would be the ultimate thing to have on here. And I think truly the combat stock is the move on this gun. So this right here is my full build for the PPSH. Next up, for our third gun here today, we're taking a look at the Model L, which is another gun that I've used actually when I was speaking of talking about my settings. This will be the exact build I was running within my settings video. So between the PPSH and this will be that nice little combination you guys can use if you want to. Another great thing to pair with that PPSH on this thing. So hopping in here to the optics section, this is the same exact thing in terms of like preference as like you can use for the AMEs. You can go for the Kepler Micro Reflex. You can go down here, of course, use the Acute Spot Reflex, the Kepler Red Dot, which is something I don't really recommend as much, but basically all these 1.25x are really not that bad. Like I always say, the Kepler red dot is my preference if I'm going to be running a gun, and I change out the reticle a little bit. You guys could probably tell by I have that like the nice little blue cross in my reticle. And then down here, you can always run the Jason Armory or the Willis 3 times. This is going to be a gun that's really effective at long range, so you could definitely go for a Jason Armory or Willis 3 times, no issue at all. We're going to choose the Willis for this build just because it's seriously very effective at long distance. Muzzle section, we're going here, of course, throw on the compensator, helps the most vertical recoil control. This is something you guys definitely need. You have to go ahead and do this. It's not like you can run a suppressor or something else like that, or, you know, the muzzle breaker ported. I've had people comment asking, why don't you run in either of these? Because if you take a look at this, I'll explain it real quick. First shot recoil control and kick reset, you know, okay, kick reset, maybe if you have a single fire gun you're trying to spam fire, maybe that'd be good right there. First shot recoil, this really doesn't have hardly anything, so this is kind of like null and void. It doesn't really matter. And the ported compensator gets you first shot recoil and vertical recoil control, so that's cool that it gets you that vertical recoil control, but we don't really need the first shot. We just need to max out on the overall vertical, and this is going to be the best at doing that. So these are good for their own, I guess, nuanced circumstances, but for majority meta guns, you're going to be using a compensator or a suppressor and maybe an SMG case. Barrel section, this is actually really cool. So we can see that the Model L, like I was telling you guys, has fantastic range. So the gain twist barrel, if you throw this on here, I mean, actually, we're gonna have to go ahead and probably select it real quick. Go in here so we can just get them to actually move around. The gain twist barrel, what this does is when you put this on here, like this doesn't increase your damage range at all, but it gets you out to 60.2 meters, 62.2 meters, and almost 1200 meters per second in bullet velocity. So this right here is going to be unbelievably effective, like really truly effective, and you are going to be able to beam people at great distance. You go to the long barrel, this gets you out to 80, pretty much 81 meters, which is absurd, but the bullet velocity is lacking, so it's kind of like not something you really want to mess with at all. And then the reinforced barrel gets you still to above 1000 meters per second and to 71 meters. So it's like you could really run the gain twist or the reinforced and be perfectly fine. I actually kind of like running the reinforced a little bit more. Only reason is because it looks like the STG barrel. And of course, I like the STG. So between the gain twist, reinforce, check it out for yourself, see what hits harder. Like the other gun I said, like the Amy's, I felt like the reinforced barrel hits a little bit harder, so I just kind of go for that. Outer barrel section, vertical foregrip. I mean, there's nothing else to explain here. It's just the vertical foregrip, so we're gonna go throw that on there. And lastly, in the magazine, we're gonna throw on the extended mag 2. It's not like the PPSH where we kind of go for extended mag 1 or something like that. You just go for extended mag 2 to get the maximum amount of rounds in our gun. We're gonna be spamming rounds down range, and we need everything we possibly can in this gun. It's not a super high fire rate gun, so you're not gonna blow through ammo, but you can definitely dispense a full mag pretty easily. So that's going to be that. That's my full build there for the Model L. Next up, to give you guys something to pair with that Model L or the Amy's 85, the KSV. This is a really solid SMG now. It's not like it's going to be the top of the category in terms of your damage TTK, but it's got great mobility, very low recoil. You can have a lot of fun using this thing, and it was actually something that I really enjoyed using even before the updates. It's just a satisfying gun to use, so let's get into it. Skip the optics, skip the muzzle, go straight for that barrel section. We're gonna hop in here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go throw on the long barrel. This gets us out to 19.6 meters. This really helps you out, just compete with all the other SMGs right now. I'm not going to be showing you guys the C9 in this video just because I've showed it in previous videos in my top 5 SMGs and stuff like that, and it's incredibly good. It's one of the best SMGs, but I want to give you some variety here, and the KSV is really awesome. So the long barrel is the go-to on this thing, and you could technically get away with running the reinforced if you wanted to and get a lot faster bullet velocity, but you really don't need to go ahead down here and run the gain twist. Not beneficial. Go for the long or the reinforced, though. For me, I'm just going to go for the long barrel as it works out great as is. Underbarrel section, we're going to go in here, throw on Ranger foregrip as per usual. Horizontal recoil, sprinting movement speed. I mean, I ain't got to explain this one too much to you guys. You know what it does. Magazine, we're going to go throw on Extended Mag 2. Extended Mag 1 is okay, but 40 rounds in the mag doesn't feel like enough on this gun, especially when I'm building out a loadout. I much prefer to have 50 because this is a decently high fire rate gun. We're going to take a look at it. You got 800 rounds per minute, decently high fire rate. You're going to go through that pretty quick, and at close range, when you maybe get caught having to take out, you know, 1 or 2 plus people at a time, put some shots into people and maybe back up, play to wave, reload, you're going to get caught kind of almost like with your pants down by having only 40 rounds in the mag. You might reload a little bit faster than the Extended mag 2, which you might actually reload just about the same, honestly. But overall, I think 50 rounds is better, and it is worth any of the cons you get here from it. Rear grip section, we're going to go through on the ergonomic grip here. Slide to fire, dive to fire, ADS speed. I could talk about this till I'm blue in the face, but slide to fire is an absolutely huge metric and stat for these guns. So you need to have slide to fire. If you're going to be looking at like ADS speed, like, oh, I have a really fast ADS speed, but I'm still getting caught, you know, and other people are able to take me out faster, that's because they have a gun that's got an ergonomic grip on it or something to speed up the slide to fire speed. I mean, it doesn't matter how fast your ADS speed is. If you get caught sliding or running around, you have to be able to pull up your gun quick, and this helps you with that. Stock section for our last attachment, we're gonna go in here and throw on either the infiltrator or the balance stock, basically one of these two. You really can't go wrong with either or of them. It's nice that there is some variance in what you can run. This gives you just aim locking movement speed, which is pretty cool, and this does give you strafing movement speed, hip fire movement speed, and a little bit of aim locking movement speed. So kind of decipher what you want more. Sometimes I like the balance stock because infiltrator feels nice, but I don't need to necessarily move that fast back and forth. I just like the balance stock so I can move overall faster. I think that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna go for the balance, but overall, I mean, it's up to you guys. So here's my full build for the KSV. Try this one out. Now, last but definitely not least, I want to give you all a build here for the Cypher 91. This is a gun that, of course, as you know, got added in the Season 2 update with the PPSH, and not that many people, I feel like, are using it apart from ground loot. It's really solid on ground loot, and actually, statistically, it's pretty solid as well, so I figured I should give you all a build for it so you can hopefully get some use out of it. So first thing in the optics section, I'm just going to show you guys my preferred sight, which is going to be the Kepler Red Dot. This has a little bit of that visual bounce to it, but that's really about it. It's just kind of how the gun functions. So overall, I think a lower magnification would be better just based on the overall bounce of the gun. So you guys should definitely be running that. Muzzle section to go through on the compensator here. This, like I said, has that bounce to it. So this is going to help mitigate that as much as possible. I think the ground loots pretty much mostly have compensators on them, so they're pretty easy to use, and you can definitely beam some people at range with this thing. It's kind of surprising. Sometimes it's just like, you know, a few shots in and someone's already down. Like it hits very hard, kind of like weirdly and randomly on the ground loot at least, but for this is going to make sure that you get the maximum benefit out of this gun. Barrel section, we're going to go in here. We're going to pop them stats open and take a look at this. You can see the gain twist barrel. You got 40.6 meters, 1134 meters per second bullet velocity. I think it's pretty cool, but I want to extend that out even more. And so we're going to use the reinforced barrel to get us out to about 48.8 and 972 meters per second. So I think that's like your nice little happy medium sweet spot where you got the bullet velocity, you got the damage range. We're not lacking on either, and it's going to make you competitive with all these other guns that I've showed you so far. So I think that's really great. You could not really, I mean, you technically could go for the long barrel, but your bullet velocity is going to suffer. So reinforced barrel, and at the lowest, the gain twist. Depending on what you got leveled up, I know the reinforced barrel is probably the last one you unlock. So if you don't have that, go for the gain twist. Now we're gonna go down here, underbarrel section, vertical foregrip. I mean, it's the vertical foregrip. In the last seat magazine, we're gonna go down here and throw on the extended mag 2, which gives us 60 rounds in the mag, which is awesome. So that is going to be that final attachment. This is going to be my full build. That's been my top 5. You guys enjoyed it? Give it a like, subscribe as notifications turned on. Check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.